Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 3 of the 2023 Toyota Cup taking place at Le Mans with the Toyota GR010. So let's take a look at the race details, where it's a 17 lap race for those in GT1, 8 lap race for those in GT2 and 3 with a 6-minute qualifier. Fuel's a ×1, so fuel will not be an issue for everyone, but the tire wear is a ×4. All racing tire compounds are available, no tire requirements, no mandatory pit stops. You can adjust your brake balance, and make sure you have intermediate and wet tires ready, because for this race, rain is a possibility. So in each session, the weather will be a bit different. So in one session, you might not have rain at all. In another session, you might be starting the race with torrential rain. And in the third race, rain might show up during the middle of the race. It's going to vary by each session and lobby, so you're going to have to get ready to do a little bit of improvising if rain does show up in your race. And I'm going to say this again, make sure you have all the racing tires, including the intermediate and wet tires, because if rain shows up in your race, that's going to screw up whatever original strategy you had, and you'll have to improvise from there on out. And because of that, I cannot really suggest a strategy for you to do. You basically have to look at the weather radar during the qualifying, because that will give you an idea about how the start of the race will be. Pick a tire that you're going to start on and then go from there. But what I can do is show you how long the racing soft and medium tires last. So we'll start with the racing soft tires. These tires will obviously give you the fastest lap times possible because they give you the most grip, but they only last 5 laps, so not that long. And as the tires start to wear out, you will have to be a bit more careful about how you're driving the car, and especially when you're coming out of the corner, you want to be a bit careful with your throttle input, because you have to worry about the hybrid system of this car, because the hybrid system will kick in if you give it the opportunity to, and you'll spin out. So you want to be careful about that. Get the car set up for the exit of the turn, get the car pointing towards the next section of the track, and then get on the throttle. The other thing is that for all tire compounds, it's the rear tires that wear out faster than the front tires. So for these test runs, I've had the brake balance all the way to the front of the car, so it's at -5. And yeah, as you're coming out of the corner, you just want to be nice and smooth getting on the throttle so you don't shred the rear tires way too much. So we'll skip on over towards the time where I pit in. I was actually racing under GT2 and 3 settings, so I decided for this one I'm pitting halfway into the race, so end of lap 4, as these are GT2 and 3 settings. Gonna go for a new set of tires. Fuel is not an issue. Even for GT1, fuel is not an issue at all. And you can see how much the rear tires wear out. They wear out pretty quickly, and I know I could go for another lap with them, but again, you have to be really careful about how you're accelerating out of the corners, as it's the rear tires that wear out faster. And the thing is that if you go for a pit stop, your pit loss is 29.5 seconds, so it's a big pit loss. And for those in GT2 and 3, I don't think the one stop is worth it. And this is if it never rains in the race. I don't think the one stop is worth it. I think the 0 stop will be the way to go. So 0 stopping on the hard tires, or even 0 stopping on the medium tires if you can make those medium tires last. If you try to go for the 0 stop on the medium tires for those in GT2 and 3, you will need to be really careful about how you're driving the car to make sure that those tires last all the way to the end of the race. But again, this is if it never rains in your race. If it rains in your race, then that's going to throw everyone's strategy out of the window, and everyone's going to need to improvise from there. And also, just be careful about this car, because it can be an understeer car at times. And one place where I noticed that, especially being the case, is through the S's before Tête Rouge. I went a little wide because the car decided, hey, let's go ahead and understeer, and went ahead and spun out. So do be careful about that, because sometimes this car understeers so much it makes the USS Hornet blush. Yeah, I just want to put that out there. And actually, I did want to show another run where I was trying a two-stop. So in this run, I started racing medium tires, then did 2 racing soft stints after that. And one thing to note is that because you do use up quite a bit of fuel, the car almost spun out there. As you use up more and more fuel, the car does become lighter, which means that you will be able to make the tires last a little bit longer. And here in this run, I used the racing soft stint as my second stint, and I found it a bit easier to make the soft tires last 5 laps. I mean, I'm still gonna have to pit in for another set of racing soft tires, but because the car is a bit lighter, it's better on the tire wear, so I had an easier time making those tires last. And if your race starts dry, some people might actually start on the harder tire cut path. So we're talking racing medium tires, maybe even racing hard tires, to try to get some of that feel off. So when they go on the softer tire, and that's if they go on the softer tire, they'll have a lighter car prepared for that. But again, this is if it never rains in your race. I want to make that clear because there is a chance that it can rain in your race, and I don't want you to come back and be like, you tested them and it never rained in your race, but it rained in my race. You suck. It's like, no. I purposely set this so it doesn't rain in my testing, but in the real race, it might rain. So, don't say I didn't warn you. But I do want to quickly touch on the racing medium tires because they can last 8 laps, but you have to be really careful with your throttle input because it's the rear left tire that wears out faster than all the other tires. Actually, it's the rear tires in general that wear out faster than the front tires. So when you're coming out of a corner, you just have to be really smooth getting on the throttle to avoid getting any unnecessary wheel spin, because that will destroy your tires, especially if you're trying to do a medium one stop. And this is specifically for GT1. A medium run is possible, and it's actually a little bit faster than the medium soft 2-stop and the hard medium 1-stop. But man, you have to be so careful with your tire management because it can be really easy to mess it up, and you'll end up in a world of trouble if your tires completely wear out, especially the rear tires, because at that point your car is gonna get pretty lively, and well, good luck with that. Yeah, here barely able to make the racing medium tires last 8 laps, and this is especially the case if you're in the GT2 and 3 leagues, because it is possible to make the 0-stop work with the racing medium tires if it never rains. But again, you have to be really careful with your tire management because you're gonna need every single bit of the tire life to make those tires last. Even more so if you're going for a medium 1-stop, and this is for those in GT1 because it is possible to make it work. But you have to be even more careful because the 9th lap on the racing medium tires is probably one of the scarier laps. And you can see the rear left tire again getting close to hitting 100% tire wear. You just gotta take really good care of those racing medium tires if you're going for a medium 1-stop. It is possible to pull it off. It is possible to be a bit faster than the 2-stop or the hard medium 1-stop if you do this strategy. But again, you have to be super careful with those tires. And again, I know I've said this about 100 times, this is if it never rains in your race. There is a chance that it might never rain in your race, but chances are it might rain in your race, and that's where you'll have to start to improvise from there. And if you're in GT1, this race is nearly an hour long, and this is if it doesn't rain in your race at all. If it rains in your race, then your race is going to be more than an hour long. For those in GT2 and 3, this race is just under 30 minutes long. It's actually around 27 minutes long. And I'm going to reluctantly show the strategy charts because I did all this testing without rain included. So all my race testing was done under dry weather, but again, rain is a possibility in your race, so make sure you have the intermediate and wet tires ready just in case rain shows up in your race. So if the rain were to never show up, then yeah, these will be the possible strategies for those in GT1 and the other strategies for GT2 and 3, and kind of give you an idea about how long each tire lasts. So soft tires last 5 laps, medium tires last 7 to 8 laps, and this is if you're starting on those tires. But again, rain can be a possibility. I know I've said it about 200 times at this point, but I really want to drill that in your head that rain is a possibility, and that can throw any strategy that you had out the window, and at that point it is time to improvise. And yeah, I'm not sure what else to say because there's only so much that I could actually say, because each session is going to be different for us. Some of us might already have rainy weather during qualifying and the start of the race. Some of us may never have rain show up. Some of us may have rain show up in the middle of the race. Yeah, it's going to be different for each and every single one of us. I cannot suggest a strategy for you because of those of that situation. So at that point, it's pick a tire compound and just hope for the best. So yeah, really, yeah, it's a really weird way to end the video. So I'm just gonna go now. So good luck in this race because here I almost bent it. Anyways, yeah, this is gonna be a really hard race for every single one of us. So if you're gonna do this race, good luck because we're all gonna need it. Yeah, that's it for me. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video.